So let's start from raw conversion process, which is probably one of the easiest process when it's about different kind of retouching. Because it's black and white, we don't have that much to do at the very beginning, but we have to make sure about certain things. No matter which image we're going to work, each image is different, so we need to pay attention to each and everything. What will be very important, of course, it will be lights. So the lights are very important for us, and why they are important. You see, the lights define how many things you're going to see on the image. So if we're going to have overexposed image, we're not going to see many details for retouch. So the obvious thing will be that we have to take down some of the highlights, and it's just because to see the things for our retouch. And then if we're going to have pretty dark image like this one, or maybe this one, when we don't have that many details, of course what we're gonna do is we need to bring some of the shadows. And the reason will be because we need to see a little bit more details from the shadows if we want to retouch this area. So this is the two most important things: highlights, shadows, when it's about how bright is the image. To help yourself, you can switch just for the time in camera raw, not for the retouching. But what we're going to do, look, I'm going to convert this to grayscale right now, just for the moment. Don't worry, I'm not going to retouch this as it is right now, because I told you not so. So it's not for this. But when we switch to the grayscale, we can see a little bit more detail. So when we're going to work with the highlights, we can see how it's going to look for our future. So that's what can define your work, maybe a little bit darker, because that's what will be suiting here. So I'm going to set exposure for -20 and shadows around here. And I can look right now and I clearly can say that around this level, it's something that makes this image comfortable to retouch later on in Photoshop. It's not super bright over here, the shadows are not very dark, so I can switch off the convert to grayscale, and I will be, look at this. We darken this image pretty decent, so maybe a little less, and that would be it. This is the image I want to start with. So we sort of flatten this image using just basic panel in camera, and this is everything we want to do, because this is comfortable for us to clean this. The one thing that is very important for you to start, just to make sure you didn't make any mistake, because we always want to work non-destructively. What is working non-destructively is when we add some changes to the image, but it doesn't really affect the image itself. So you don't want to open image in Photoshop, because then when you realize you didn't do the right conversion in camera, you would have to go once again to camera, which will be destructive for the image. You want to open this image in Photoshop and have possibility to go back to these settings and change them, just in case they are wrong. So you will open the image as a smart object. Have a look. I'm going to press Shift on the keyboard, and then instead of open image, I have open object. So I'm going to open object. You can change this also in the setting of camera. But you see, as I open the object in camera, I can double hit on this layer, and then I will be back in camera with exactly the same settings. So I can change them anytime. So you see, this is non-destructive work I was mentioning too. You can also change the settings before and check this box open in Photoshop as smart object. But I usually open this just by pressing Shift and open object, and then you just can hit OK. So that's how you prepare your image for work in Photoshop.